Okay, Ron isn't here yet. What time is it?
7:02.
7:02.
7:03. Okay, he'll probably be on, I think. Did Ron say he's going to be here?
He did, yeah.
Okay, so he'll be probably coming in. Okay, so the meeting started at 7:01, 7:01 p.m. So we'll call meeting to order. Roll call, seat alternates. We don't have any alternates. Additions or changes in the order of the agenda. Anybody want to change that? Nope.
No,
Okay. Uh, communication or correspondence. Any that we want to see? Nope. Okay.
nothing new.
Audience of citizens, none. Approval of meeting minutes on regular meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2026. Do I have a motion to accept those?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 So moved. Okay. Uh, under new business, we have old unfinished business, commission discussion and possible action. Audience of citizens, we don't have any audience of citizens here. Commission open discussion, I just had some over here for the meeting. And then we want to talk about the pond weed removal. So let's get into that discussion. And Savannah, you want to give us some summary and background? And Mary, I know you're involved with that too, both of you guys.
Yeah, Mary, feel free to jump in whenever.
Okay.
Yeah, last year, Mary and Mark Walter approached me regarding a pilot program for pondweed removal in the lake. So we have a couple native species of pondweed that are not currently overabundant per our TRC consultant's review. So it's not an overabundance, but it is a nuisance for swimmers and people trying to use their docks in the summertime. So Mark and Mary approached me about doing a program where we allow them to remove some pondweed either by hand pulling or by cutting with a rake, but no motorized action or anything like that that would constitute kind of aggressive lake bed modeling or messing up the lake bed too much. So we constructed a pilot program, but it was kind of late in the year. We didn't get a ton of people to participate. I think I ended up with 5 different properties, 5 or 6. I can't remember the total number. I sent you guys a report that summarized what everyone did. So there were several who hand harvested by pulling, like diving down and pulling it up. Some of our staff, the town staff, went out to the public lake swim area and they actually took a rake from their boat and they dropped it in and they pulled the rake and then collected all the pondweed as it came up and composted it afterwards off site. So as far as success, I think it seemed to have worked decently well for the people who implemented it. I didn't hear as many complaints from the town beach side of thing from swimmers, so that was good. And then the residents who did the method said it was pretty effective. Hand pulling seemed to be the most effective method, like getting down there and actually pulling them up by the roots. But, it wasn't a huge pilot study. So I guess we don't have a ton of information about that. So cut to this year, that was just an initial, let's test the waters and see what it's like. This year we wanted to open it up to anyone who lives around the lake who might want to remove the pondweed from their swim or dock areas. They would still have to file an application with us, which would mean they have the Wetlands Commission's kind of agency over it. And as the agent of the commission, I would go out and inspect before and after. And I think we were talking about limiting to 15 people. I don't think we did a cap necessarily in our instructions, but that was kind of in our head. If we start getting a ton of people, we're going to need to think about a cap. It's kind of a test thing. But the problem came up because there's always a fee associated with wetlands applications. It's written into our regulations. So as town agents, we have to charge that fee. And when residents came, they weren't aware of the fee. I hadn't put it in the informational packet, honestly. I take responsibility for that. I just I didn't even think to put it in because we've always had a fee associated with wetlands applications, but I should have put it in and made it known. So residents were coming to apply and found out about the $185 administrative fee, and were understandably upset about that. So Mary can speak more to the reaction to that. I think she got it firsthand. She can give us a little more information on that. But that's what precipitated this conversation, because we have to find a solution allowing people to, you know, maintain their swim areas in a way that's reasonable, but still remain in our regulations and not going kind of a route that bypasses them, because we don't want to set that standard either. So the email I sent you said, I think I gave 3 options, and that came from me and Mark Walter having a conversation. But, you know, this is an open discussion. So if you guys think of anything else, have a better idea, please, you know, bring it up. But I'll turn it over to Mary. She can talk about kind of the fee reaction and where this conversation came from, if you don't mind, Mary.
Oh, wait. Mary, you're on mute. I can't unmute. Oh, you're good. You're good. I got you. I got you. Okay. Go ahead. Oh, wait, she hit.
Okay, now we can hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I just got home. I have 3 dogs who are very excited, but fortunately they've calmed down. Sorry about that. So yeah, let me fill in a couple blanks and then move to what happened. The nuisance areas around the lake, and it's not every dock. There are 190 plus docks on this lake, but there are probably 3 nuisance areas. Those that are around some docks, that are in swimming areas for lakefront property owners. Those that are in shallow areas, even for town residents who launch their boats. Particularly, I'm aware of 2 pontoon boat owners who brought to my attention where they anchor every weekend, typically, they are running into these clasping pondweeds, and can they somehow help in the removal? We'll come back to that. And of course, the public beach, which Savannah, you mentioned. So we've got, and the reason for this is we have 11 plants in this lake that are all native, thank God. And let's continue that. 1, clasping pondweed grows in areas that are typically 5 feet to 12 feet in depth. And the vast majority are in the what's called littoral zone, which is from the seawall or shoreline out to that about 12-foot area. So that's the closest area. So that's why we're seeing this clasping pondweed. It is not invasive. It is, however, and John, I think you would agree, at a point where it's a nuisance in terms of swimmers, docking boats, even on rafts, let alone now boats that are launching are finding it in the shallow areas they typically anchor on. Are you nodding your head, John?
Yes.
So the deal is we've received 2 inquiries, and it may be 4 inquiries if I check my telephone calls, because people have asked me to call back, of people who want to go out, want to do right by this lake in order to balance not only the ecosystem, we could remove some of this clasping pondweed, and it's not going to harm the ecosystem according to TRC, and obviously balance that with recreational use of the lake. So on their own last year, and now others this year, want to go out and help support the lake. They're going to do the physical labor. They are purchasing rakes or razor cutters is what they're called. And I looked online, they cost between $180 and $250, depending on which widget you buy or which tool. So they're investing for, yes, themselves and for the lake. And now they're being asked by the town on the town lake bed to pay a fee. So the angst has come back as to how dare or why would or how would, when we're doing, yes, for ourselves, but also for the town, on the town's lake bed, why are we paying a fee? And that's where Savannah was made aware of what happened as I was boarding an airplane to go out to Phoenix to watch our women play. So I'm not sure what's exactly transpired since then, but I think the three suggestions that Savannah, thank you, and Mark have suggested, two out of the three personally from me and from Martha Carter, who's the president of the CLA. We reviewed all three, and we really believe until we can, this is a long-term issue. John, you're very aware of this. This is going to happen every year. We will never get rid of clasping pondweed, even if we use contact herbicide, because of its rooting system that is horizontal. It's called ribosome, and it just keeps coming back, and it'll generate by the root system and by the seeds. So are we asking people who want to do the work, who want to do right by the lake, lake quality, as well as recreationally, to pay $185 times X number of years, because you're going to have to do this on again? So my retort or response when I was hanging out in Phoenix, I have to say, was, option one is let's figure this out and spend this season on another pilot and understand what can we do with a better cohort, a better number, versus change policies potentially and or do nothing and have wetlands do nothing, which I think opens a can of worms where oversight of this lake is absolutely critical for the sake of the lake and for the sake of the people who are on it. So the suggestion that I have responded to on a more positive or favorable was, let's keep it. And by the way, Savannah, it says pilot program 2026 on what we publish, on what you publish and what we publish to the CLA. So can we keep it a pilot, hold fast on the fees until we can figure out year over year over year, how the heck are we going to do this and what's fair? Should the town incur that fee, or should every individual have to incur that fee? So enough said from me, and I'll kind of open it up for further discussion.
I don't think it says pilot program, but he pointed out to me because I just pulled up the document. It says clasping pondweed removal. My
Okay.
hesitation in a second pilot program is that it flew under the radar last year, but this is technically removal of material from the lake bed, which is heavily regulated typically. So last year, we did the pilot program. It was a minimal sample study, and I have regrets that I didn't come up to the commission before last year. I probably should have come to you guys, and I don't want to make that same mistake again. So I want there to be some sort of oversight from the commission, as it says in our regulations, when there's removal of material from a wetland. That's my hesitation doing the pilot study again. So if we were to waive the fee and do the pilot study again, we could theoretically do it, but the commission would have to say that there is a reason. And we only have a couple of reasons that we can actually do it for. So it would be that there's a substantial public benefit to the environment or public health and safety from doing the activity, or that the application fee is clearly excessive in relation to the cost of the town reviewing and processing the application, or the last item has to do with the nutrient allocation plan, which doesn't apply here.
NAP wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
Could it be considered
two options.
like people that want to go out there on the pontoon boats and remove it with rakes and so forth? Could they be considered like contractors or maybe even employees of the town for a short term?
I don't think the town's so what I've heard, and I can only speak on behalf of myself, but from conversations with Mark and Stephen, the weed isn't technically invasive and it's not in overabundance. So is it annoying? Yeah, but is it something that the town is going to take responsibility for as being a detriment to public health and safety. Not at this time. I think
Yeah,
if it were to become severely overabundant, perhaps a case could be made, but I don't think at this time the town would do that.
but
That's,
Okay,
you know,
so
as far
oh,
as, having the weed in the lake, I mean, this is kind of new to Columbia Lake. I mean, I would, I would actually consider it somewhat invasive, even though it's natural to, New England and, it's invasive for our lake and, it's a nuisance.
a
Uh,
nuisance. Yeah.
yeah.
How thick?
and
Yeah.
and my only comment in response to Steve or Mark on there's not an overabundance is there are in specific areas based on how this plant grows. There are not to the total lake. Yes, we have 280 acres. 11 acres are full of plant, good for fishing, but we do have an overabundance of clasping pondweed in the littoral zone or the zone that's from the shoreline out 12 feet, which is where most people enjoy the lake recreationally without a boat. Swimmers, as an example.
Right.
So I hear the technicality, but I mean, John, you discovered this what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Oh,
And it's,
I'm a pretty strong swimmer, and I wouldn't want to get caught in any of that stuff. It wraps,
yeah,
it wraps around your arms, it wraps around your feet. Anything that's moving, it wraps around. So somebody may get hurt. That's what I'm.
yeah, John Dilworth, I was asking, you discovered this what,
Oh,
on Woodland
yeah,
Terrace
we
4 or 5 years ago?
we started really noticing about probably 5 or 6 years ago. And
Okay,
since then, it keeps spreading and spreading and
it's
spreading.
gone.
Yeah.
It's not totally around the lake.
Yeah, no,
However,
I know.
it's,
I take my kayak around and, I keep an eye on it, but it is spreading and eventually it's going to be, in any place it can possibly grow that's not too rocky. I mean, I think that's the eventuality of it. It just, the way it's going, that's just, my
we may
assessment.
see that.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Also, I was reading about, not pulling it in July and August, which, is a great idea. The, like the last couple of summers, I mean, I've been just picking out pondweed that washes in. What happens is the fishing boats, they come in close to the shore and they chop it up with their propellers and they're just getting the top half.
Hmm.
So, and, so it's spreading regardless, when you do
Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
have to be a little careful. You're right that there is some clasping pondweed. That's a small amount versus the Elodea, which is another native plant that is churned up by motors that comes up in bushelfuls in the July, August, at least in the Erdoney Road, Route 87 area. I don't know where all this plant is, but we started having problems again about 5 years ago with the Elodea coming up.
So
So
that's not long and stringy though, right? Like the
now,
pine.
now that's more of a
Yeah,
grass like.
yeah. So I haven't
Um,
really seen much of that.
to John Allen's thought on safety, there have been 2 incidents that I'm aware of where little children were very, very afraid of the weeds. From a safety perspective, it's clasping pondweed is 99% probably water. So I can't say it's not like hydrilla that's going to wrap around you and pull you down. So I think we have to be careful, but I think we should be evaluating if we were to have a public benefit, what are the issues with it when people are finding themselves caught in it? Because there have been some small children, one right next door to me, who absolutely went ballistic, and we had to pull them out of the water. So there is that potential, John, for more of a frightening type of a thing. Clasping pondweed, I have to be upfront. I don't think it's a huge type of a weed that's going to pull you under.
Yeah,
But
I don't think it
no,
so
it's
much
not
will pull
supposed
you under, but
yeah,
if you, study how people drowned, when they panic, they stop
to.
breathing
Right.
and
that's true.
they just lose motor control. and they drown. So if they get into a situation where they have a couple of weeds wrapped around their arm or something,
It
it's a
may be a
possibility.
panic.
Yeah, it might be panic. So, yeah,
So
to John's point.
is it potentially possible, Savannah, to extend the pilot to really study the impact of pondweed on people as we are also trying to remove some of it to minimize that impact, whether it be a safety impact and or a recreational impact, because there's clear fear when people swim through it. Over on Camino Lane, just before it, I'm trying to think. Brian Benades told me his wife has a swim group every year, and they can't find a path now to swim out of their dock through their cove and then go around the lake, which is what they do appropriately with kayaks, because this clasping pondweed is all over their cove. So there are those issues that it is impacting swimmers.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
another issue is that, people that like to do distance like myself and some other people in my neighborhood, we have to keep going further out.
Out,
Yeah,
which
and
is
which puts us out in the, motorboat.
Boda,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
that's a
don't
little
get me,
disconcerting.
I do tie a buoy on me, and I know the other swimmers have been doing the same, but still, somebody's not
Yeah,
paying attention.
yep,
So,
So it sounds like it definitely is something that needs controls as far as maintaining the recreational aspect of the lake. So it's something we have to figure out a solution to, which, I agree with. I think the pilot program extension is possible. It's one of my solutions, but it would require the commission to provide a reason for waiving the fee for another year. And I would also want to define the parameters of it a little better and define successes and how we measure it and follow up protocols. If we're really looking at like, is this going to work as a long-term solution? I think we need more information.
yeah,
yeah,
So that's still definitely on the table. And in the interest of just being completely upfront, there is another way we could go about it, which is if you look at the options I gave you, well, there's two other options. So the fee could potentially be reduced for each application. We could create a new category in the regulations, but that would require a public hearing. So it requires a lot of time, as Mary said, and that's tricky for this year to actually get people out there to remove it. That's the second option. The third option is that in this meeting, you could agree that removing pondweed from a property under certain parameters is not a significant removal amount, and therefore the regulations don't apply. By doing that, no one would have to apply for a wetlands permit to remove pondweed from their property as long as it remains under a certain threshold. The only way to regulate this is if, someone's removing more than they're supposed to, they get caught and someone comes to me and tells me about it, then I can issue them a violation.
really,
So it opens up, the potential that people will take advantage of it.
yeah.
So those are the three options, I guess. And, the pilot program would certainly require a lot more work. And I think a long-term solution with the fee structure needs to be an ongoing discussion with Stephen and Mark as well, because they're really, the money
yeah,
people in the town. So that's who we need to talk to. If we need a fee for all the administrative work that goes along with this, if not, that's
sure,
something that we
sure.
need to have a conversation about.
That's why I see number one, and I understand number two and number three, although number three, no supervision is a Pandora's box. You open that and you could potentially be allowing that to happen. And it's happened already on this lake, and we've caught people to do things because they think, oh, it's my lake bed.
Mhm.
It's not the town's lake bed. So yeah, I know CLA, and I can't speak for LMAC. I can only speak as personally. But LMAC would have to take up if we went beyond a pilot program, either two or three. Again, we're delaying for this year when we can gather more pertinent information, as John Dilworth just said, from a safety perspective, as well as from a perspective of are we doing the best job cleaning this stuff up? There is a recommendation that LMAC discussed of a weed patrol. should we have someone who's, you know, should be doing this and is goes out and does it as identified by the town. But again, that's a long-term solution. It's not something we're going to be able to do right now. We do have a goose patrol,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yes.
Board of Selectmen did bless and approve that. It's a similar type of conversation. Should we have a weed patrol type of an approach? So, but unfortunately, we've got people who want to do this, who are ready to sign up. I don't know if any more came in the last couple of days.
Not that I saw, not that I heard yet.
You know, but I know at least two people who want to get out and do this. And I think if we can publicize it appropriately, and you're right, put the correct parameters in terms of the criteria and how we want to measure this, Savannah, it might be the best option this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
It's,
think, and if you know, if that's the route the commission wants to go, and if they want to waive the fee, I think the best reasoning would likely be that it's substantial public benefit, which is, you know, in our regulations to waive it based on that this would be for the health and safety of the public, which seems like where the discussion is leaning tonight. So if you choose to go that way, you know, you would just say that as a commission, you take a vote on it to waive the fee for any applications to remove pondweed for, I would say, to limit it to just this year until we figure things out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would also question, Mary, if LMAC would have involvement in kind of defining some of the parameters of the pilot study and helping kind of with the follow-up actions. Do you think that there would be interest in doing that? I'm
Well,
not
we have
sure
a,
how many people we're talking about getting, I guess. Take on
I'm
too much
sorry,
work.
say again, you're not sure how many?
People we would get in the pilot study this year, like if we would get like 15 properties total, and like I don't have parameters defined as of now, and it'd be a rush to get things kind of organized when we are technically allowing them to pull as of April 1st. And I'd really want this to be an effective study because we're not going to get another year to do it. So
I
that's
know,
my
I
hesitation.
know, I know. LMAC has a special meeting on April 20th. We were ready to put it on the agenda and can put it on the agenda. And then, you know, how can we partner with you to say, here's the hypothesis,
Yeah.
here's the study, here are the parameters, here's the criteria, and et cetera, in terms of how we assess it. So I think that I'm not speaking for LMAC. Personally speaking, as chair of LMAC, I'd be happy to help. And
Yeah.
I think the chair of CLA might be able to help too. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, you know, collaboration would be appreciated, especially with just the
okay,
communication aspect, because
I
there's a lot of
agree.
people to keep, you know, reports on, and we'd probably want to check in at different intervals and make sure we're asking
Sure,
the right questions at the end. So I just
sure.
want input on formulating all that, so we make sure we're getting what everyone needs, the answers to.
Understood, understood. I'm curious how other members, Tip or Ron, what your thoughts are, or John.
Let me apologize for being late, of course. I missed most of your discussion.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Um, you know, to have a pilot program. You know, as far as like just opening up for everybody pulling weeds, um, or you know, I'd be concerned about people putting tarps down and what they put in the water. Um, you know, if people want to do it on a limited basis to just do like a 6 foot area, you know, I'd say, you know, go for it. Um, but yeah, I think you're right. I think there needs to be a little bit of oversight so people just
Mhm.
don't feel free to do absolutely anything. But I would like to see us move ahead for this year and actually, you know, set some parameters and maybe take some action this year. So,
I agree with that. I think that we ought to have a limit of maybe 15 people this year and check to see if we're going to have a problem without charging people anything, and just oversee it, check on things and make sure it's only going to be a small amount. 50 square feet isn't much at all, but hopefully it would be enough room for
10 by 5
let
is
people
500.
swim in front of their in their backyard, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we
Well,
don't take action, I mean,
I have a question.
oh, I'm sorry, go
Is
ahead.
it possible to go through this year without charging a fee to those who actually take care of the weed?
Yeah,
I think that's the answer, and see how it goes for a year.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the only thing we want to be cautious with is we keep it to a year where we waive the fee until there's like a more permanent decision, because typically fees aren't waived unless there's extreme extenuating reasons. So I
Understood.
just want that to be kept in mind, because the fees are there for a reason, you know, mostly to pay for the administrative work that goes into doing these applications when they arrive.
Right.
I agree, Savannah. I think one of the things that came up was the perception is lakefront owners cause this, and that's not true.
Mm.
The reality is the human development over decades in a watershed area that spills into a lake, this happens to be Columbia Lake, creates these issues. So the lakefront owners who do want to do right, and yes, part of it is want their swim area open, are asking why do they have to pay that fee? Why isn't watershed owners or town residents or the town government paying that fee? And that's a question we can't answer. I don't think here.
Well, there is,
Right.
I believe it's in our regulations that we allow for like cleanup of, because I'm thinking, you know, this could be applied to any property owner who owns a wetland, because all wetlands are connected and, you know, materials migrate and maybe they get invasive species they want to clean out. I think we have something in our regulations about waiving a fee for environmental remediation work. I don't know if that would apply here since it's not invasive, but I mean, it's something we can discuss further along as we kind of look at all our options.
Okay.
Okay.
So do we need a motion or what do we?
Why don't we just raise our hands and vote if that's, you know, if we're going to continue it and use, and have Savannah make up some kind of a
With help.
and maybe advertise something to get the 15 people that we need. I'm not sure how many would be interested in doing that. Do you have any idea, Savannah?
Mary might have more of an idea, but I know we had like 5 people last year, so hopefully those same people will come forward again, because that would be nice to have 2 years of data.
And I think Savannah, obviously Mark DeRozier is brand new. He brought this up. There's another person I'm calling, who I think they'll probably, so we could be up to 7 now and not even know it. But I think we have to do a better job of advertising, as John just said, and educating. Because I know people who complained last year and yet didn't do it, or did it without telling us. So I can give you 2 of those also.
Okay.
Names not to be announced.
So John, from an administrative standpoint, you would, or someone would need to make a motion to waive the fee associated with pond reed removal per section 19.10B1 of the inland wetland regulations.
Wow.
What?
19.10B1.
B1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do I
I'll
hear
make a motion to waive the regulation 1910B1 of the wetlands regulation for the fee.
I'll
Did I
I'll
get that right,
second that.
Savannah?
For the
Yeah,
clasping pond weed pilot program.
Right.
We'll clean it up in the minutes. It'll be
you.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a second on that.
I'll second that.
All right, all in
Thank you,
favor,
Ted.
raise your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Very good.
Great. All right. Thank you guys for having this conversation tonight. It's important, and I know it can be a little bit inundative. So thanks.
No,
Savannah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So the next item is a violation, item 10.2 on 198 Route 87,
Yeah.
unpermitted work on the
Oh.
lake bed. Oh,
Yeah. I met with him today, the property owner. So, excuse me, I sent a letter to him. Essentially, there's an outlet from the state road there. There's like a drainage culvert, and it drains through the road and down out into the lake. One of those old systems where everything used to drain to the nearest water body. So it's the culvert is. He showed me pictures. It's in really poor shape. It's really fallen apart inside. What he did was he added an extension pipe on the end of the culvert so that instead of the water discharging close to his dock, and he has something else there, but it was eroding the things near his property. So he wanted to stop that erosion. He added a pipe that made the water go up further, which is a violation. It's fill in the wetland bed without a permit. He can't do it. So he does have a good reason, obviously. He's removed it at this time. So the violation is resolved. We discussed today how he can move forward because it's obviously a problem that needs fixing. I suggested he goes to DOT first to see if he can get them to take responsibility for the culvert and fix it.
Yeah.
I
Good
mean, you never know. It could happen. Crazier things have happened, right? So if he can't, he can certainly come forward for a wetlands permit. And he is more than willing to do that and, come up with engineered plans if we require them.
Yeah.
For a long term.
He has a neighbor who may help him,
Yeah.
in Mr. Robinson, so.
Yeah. And he's great to work with. He's always very considerate
Yes.
of our regulations. So
Yes, so.
Yeah.
Well, he used to be on wetlands, so,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
He was the boss.
Yeah, he was
He
commissioner.
was the commissioner.
No way. How long ago?
Uh,
15 years.
It's been 20 years, probably
Yeah.
15, 20 years now, but, anyways, thank you, Savannah. We did get a fair amount of questions on that. I went on and saw it and I went, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I do completely understand why. And hopefully he can get that resolved. I think you're dreaming on the DOT, but what the heck?
Yeah.
Once I called them about a tree and they actually came and cut it down. So
Oh
you
my
never
God.
know.
Oh.
You never know.
Oh,
okay, item 10.3, the oil leak. What
Yeah.
happened on that?
John, Mary, and we were all at the meeting. And I think the public meeting went well. Everyone seemed to have their questions answered. And
Yep.
judging from the fact that I haven't gotten any emails since then, I think everyone seems to feel better about the situation. And I think having the contractor and Deep explain the entire thing from the ground up was just really good to have everyone know exactly what's happening right near their house. So yeah, I don't know, John and Mary, if you want to add anything.
Yeah.
yeah, the owner was there also, and he was so contrite, and I felt terrible that this thing happened, and I can't imagine the expense. I hope he's got really good insurance that this is going to incur. But I think overall the Crop and Deep just did a great job answering all questions and helping us figure it out. John, I'm sorry. Did you have him?
No, I was just going to say the consensus around the neighborhood is that the meeting went very well, and
Good.
people were very happy that they took the time to explain things to them and answer their questions. So the feedback was very positive. Interestingly enough, they haven't really been doing too much since then. They brought a like this unit the size of like a commercial freezer. It's next to my fence there. It's a big blue box. And what they're doing is taking water out of the garage and they filter it and then they put it into the storm drain. So, and
Interesting.
they say you could drink the water. But I heard the guys out there said, have you tried drinking the water? I said, I'm not going to try it.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. But it's been very quiet. I mean, thank God. I mean, it's nice having a break.
Yeah.
But Yeah. Oh, and also Sven, I copied you. We got the results of the test back from the wells, the most recent one.
Oh, good.
And there's, it's nothing, there's been no impact on the wells. So
Good.
That
saw
is great.
great water.
We were
That's really good.
fortunate. We were fortunate.
Very
Yeah.
much so. I mean, if they had to bring tankers in, this would turn into something totally different
Mhm.
and be long term too. So
Okay, item 10.4, enforcement fee status,
Yeah.
Savannah.
I was supposed to send you guys something, and before I did, I was like, I really want to have Mark and Steven take a look and make sure it's in line with how our regulations are written, because I realized I formatted it probably a little differently. So once I take care of the formatting, I will send you what I have written up, and then hopefully you guys can just vote on, approving or modifying or however you want to move forward. But it'll be a more final version to vote on.
Very good. And item 11 is the administrative reports, and I believe there are 3 of them. You might
Yeah,
have
there's.
some background on those 3.
Yeah, let me just pull up my agenda here.
One was Clark Robinson.
Sorry, give me one sec. I lost my agenda. Oh, that's January. Sorry, guys. Too many tabs open all the time. Okay. All right. So, dock repair at 66 Lake Road. The reason why usually we don't do administrative approvals for these, because maintenance and repair is covered under our regulations. We had to do it for this one because he had to remove the pilings and the footprint was changing slightly. It was by like an inch or 2. It wasn't enough that I thought it probably needed to come before the commission and could be an easy administrative approval. He basically changed the pilings out for a different shape, and it changed the footprint a little bit. And then the second one, Chris Willett in the single family home at 10 Parker Ridge. So a little misleading there. None of the single family home is within the 200-foot special area of concern buffer there. It's only the septic. So there did need to be some digging within the 200 foot. I think it was like 185 feet out from the Hop River for the septic system. So that was done as administrative approval. And then what's our last one here? Yeah, so the 9 Lower Woodland Terrace, they're replacing a deck almost entirely in kind, but they are modifying the steps to a different location. So there's a slightly different footprint. It expands it by a couple feet. So again, not enough to make them come forward to the commission, but enough to just have them do an administrative approval. And that's it.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn so we can watch a basketball game?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and I'll get the information.